Claude Greisler. I just learned how to pronounce your name, so thank you for helping. Welcome to our YouTube channel for Dubai Watch Week. Hello.
Hello.
Today I was reading that your grandparents were watchmakers.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And then your grandmother, to help during the war to make extra income, was assembling movements, right? Or assembling timepieces, sorry.
Assembling timepieces for hire, yeah, the stopwatches for hire.
I didn't know, okay, because it didn't mention which brand, it just mentioned that she was doing it. So this is a legacy passion that you've inherited.
Exactly, yeah. So when we were very young, my grandmother trained us to assemble and disassemble watch movement because she always had so much fun to do it.
Yeah.
And when we were young kids, she was so proud what she achieved. So she trained us to assemble and disassemble any kind of watches.
Oh wow! So in your house, I'm assuming Christmases in the Greisler household was like a lot of disassembled machines.
Exactly, a lot of
not just
parts.
watches.
Parts, yeah. And
Yeah.
my grandfather then got very successful because he started to deliver the watch industry with spare parts. So he developed several machines. He was producing pinions, axes, and screws, and all kind of. So he supplied many brands with spare parts.
I didn't know, that's fascinating. Okay, so it's in your blood.
It's in my blood.
You have
definitely.
an unfair advantage in the watch industry.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so today we're here to talk about the Orbit, which is very exciting. I wanted to ask you, did you initially think about creating to reinvent the date function, or did you think about I want to create something very different? Like how did you start? Which route did you go?
So actually we had two ideas. Myself, I wanted to have a sports watch. I'm a big fan of ceramic bezel watches, either if it's a diver's watch or a GMT. I just like the look of it. I'm very sporty, I do a lot of sports, so that was definitely a watch which fits to my lifestyle. On the other hand, we had a lot of our customers asking for a date. Now, date is always, you have this discussion, either people, they want to have a date because they think it's very useful, or you have this field of date is not very useful because it's a nightmare to set, and so...
Yeah. The accuracy.
So Serge is the guy, he wanted to have a date. I'm more the guy who does it really make sense because you have the phone, you have other things to read the date. But sports watch was my topic.
Okay, fine.
So we had these two discussions during several product meetings, date, sports watch, and I said, why do we fight against each other? And why do we not combine the idea of having a date function, a very unique date function on a ceramic bezel? And this is how we came up with the idea of having a pointer date going around the bezel.
It's a happy compromise because from what I understood, you can actually set it or keep it stationary. So if
Exactly. Yeah. The fact that we work with the off-center dial put us a little bit in trouble by having a pointer date coming out of the center, which means that starting from the 19th of the month to the 29th, the pointer hand will always cover the sub-dial. Which makes time reading even harder. So we had to somehow figure out a function which allows us to have the date either on display or either off. And so if I press once, the hand jumps to its date. So now I could have the date moving during midnight just to the next day, or I bring it back to its neutral position, which is at 12 o'clock. It's a very symmetric position. Same with in chronographs. You know, the chronographs is, I think, the nicest look is when the hands are very well centered.
Yeah.
And it's unique. The other unique thing is that the whole mechanism is driven by a column wheel. The column wheel which we know from high-end chronographs. So it's the very first watch who has a column wheel date function.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And it's also extremely trendy with a ceramic bezel, so it appeals, I think, to a really wide audience. But what I was surprised to learn is that it's a part of the System 71, right?
78.
78. Why 78, by the way?
Because myself and Serge, we are both born 1978.
Ah,
and so we have our
it's a romantic reason.
No, it's like we have somehow, it's a bit of our philosophy of making watches.
Okay.
So we have two main collections. We have the resonance collection, which is based on two movements in one watch which do synchronize each other, and System 78 is a collection which is based on a single balance complication. That means it's a more standard So we have one barrel, we have one gear train, one escapement, and one balance wheel. But then which allows us to come out with different functions, because in resonance everything is really tight, because we have two movements in one watch, so there's not a lot of room to play around. And in System 78 we can much more play with additional functions or complications, and
But now, how are you able to keep? I think from System 78, you try to target a price point that is more commercially viable, right?
Yeah, it depends on which model. So we have of course, we have an entry-level watch, or we have a classic dress watch, which is called the Tribute 1, 38 millimeters, three-hand manual wound, which starts just below 14,000 Swiss francs.
Yeah.
And then we have the Gravity Equal Force. It's a micro-rotor, automatic wind movement with the equal force barrel. Equal force barrel is very similar to a constant force complication. So that means we regulate the torque in the barrel to have a better transmission of energy to the escapement. This watch starts just below 17,000.
Okay, good. So
but then we have different dial options. So there's a lot of different variations. We just launched this green dial with the hand guilloche pattern on the dial. So
And how do you harness that spirit of innovation and like going beyond the ordinary at Armin Strom?
That's something which I think, thanks to resonance, when we were able. So resonance is something which many big watchmakers tried to achieve resonance. Is it Abraham Louis Breguet, or if it's François Paul Journe? And as a very young company, we were able to solve the problem in resonance by adding a clutch spring to its system. And this completely changed the philosophy of Armin Strom. Instead of just producing our own movement, we started to reinvent movements. That means if it comes to an equal force barrel, if it comes to a special date function or a resonance clutch system. So that is what drives us today, and we still believe that there is a lot of room to innovate in watch movements.
So it's a part of your DNA now?
It's a part of our DNA, yeah. Okay. There's always a tradition involved, so all our ideas are linked to the traditional watchmaking. Problems which were somewhere written in the books and couldn't be solved properly. And thanks to the new technology and the fact that we do everything in-house, we have CNC machines, we have the development team is in-house, we have the guys who do the decoration, the watchmakers. So fully integrated manufacturing allows you also, it's a little bit a playground for a watchmaker, because it's try and figure and out.
And I wanted to end, because our YouTube segments are a bit short, but I wanted to end with a very important question. How close are you to moving to Hawaii to surf all the time? Do you find that's going to happen it's a really long time away, or do you think you're getting closer?
Question. No, I think for holiday it's fine. I love surfing. I would, I don't know if I could move out from Switzerland. Because I'm family, everything is based here. So I would definitely enjoy a month of surfing or 2 months of surfing. But then I think my roots are here in Switzerland. So I love mountains, I love, everything is here.
You also like skiing, right? So maybe you can have a little branch in Hawaii. That would be good. That would be the future.
I'm really looking up to do our first store open up the first store in Hawaii. We just launched. I have some customers in Whistler where I can go skiing. So I just need a few more in Hawaii.
A few more in Hawaii. Okay, we'll try to find
the marketing. So if everybody listens from Hawaii, please feel free to order an Armin Strom.
We will target Hawaii from now. Thank you so much for giving us a nice brief of the orbit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.